one of our winners of last year's, the first conference and awards that we had. Dan Whyte is the co-founder of DWRM, which stands for Do What Really Matters. Are you there, Dan?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Can you see me?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll take it off the stop share so that you're like filling our screen rather than your picture. Okay.
Excellent.
And I'll move myself. You've got 10 minutes, mate.
Okay. So, hi everybody. Marie-Claire, thank you first for inviting me. I was, after listening to, the speakers before, pretty much throughout my last speech, and now I'm going to give one that seems more kind of apparent, more kind of relevant. Okay, so first off, resilience is a word I didn't actually use much and wasn't really aware or sure of its true meaning until very late into my prison sentence. So yeah, by that and by what Marie-Claire said, I was the Exceptional Prisoner Award winner last year, one which I'm very proud of and still have my little glass pack. So let me just tell you a little bit about me. My story seems to be quite similar to a couple of other speakers beforehand. I left school at 13. When I say left, I meant kicked out. I didn't go back. I was in prison by the time I was 14. I had an 8-year sentence. My first conviction, I was given an 8-year sentence. So anyway, I overcame that. I didn't do much through that sentence. I was still a boy. There was no care. There was no control. There was no help. There was no guidance. So I just went through that, finished, and came out the other end. I was fortunate that I came out to a career playing rugby, which I started whilst I was in prison, and then that was cut short by injury. So just as I was starting to build some belief in myself and in society, I suppose, that was cut short, and yeah, I was back on the roads, and I was back in prison by the time I was 21. I started a life sentence, a 20-year life sentence, and well, you can imagine, 21 years old, no qualifications, no direction. That's what I suppose you would call rock bottom. During that time, early on into that sentence, I realized I had a choice, which was to either sink or swim. I decided to be a swimmer, and I swam for all I was worth. That swimming was manifesting my education. That was the route I took. So I decided to just study. I studied. I was fortunate again that I had great support periodically throughout my study journey and my prison sentence. I was able to go from absolutely no education to starting a PhD, which I'm now in my second year of. I won't go through the ups and the downs that, many of us either know, have experienced, or are aware of, the difficulties of prison, and therefore the reason for us needing resilience. But I want to focus on the people that are in prison, the people that will go to prison, and their resilience. So to that end, I just wanted to start by saying, during a conversation I had one time with a governor, he asked me a question. He said to me, Dan, how do you keep doing what you do, even in the face of all these knockbacks and difficulties? You keep yourself moving forward, which is great, but where do you find the emotional and mental space and capacity to keep supporting all these other guys as well as yourself? Your resilience is something to be admired. Now, this got me thinking, and it's now the question I want you to ask yourselves. We've heard a lot of different versions of what resilience is and how we can be more resilient, but what does resilience actually look like, especially for someone who's on their own, behind a door, in a prison cell? I want to ask that question again. What does resilience actually look like? I ask that because if we can put a face on it and make it recognizable, then we wouldn't need to wait months and years to be able to identify and realize that someone has this inbuilt resilience. Before we start challenging it, these qualities, attitudes and beliefs, these quality attitudes and beliefs, you know, before we can start to actually, you know, recognize and use these guys who actually are in the prison system now, currently serving sentences, that have this quality, you know, that have this attitude and have these beliefs that they may not be able to articulate and put into that word of resilience, but they have these qualities. So how do we recognize it when we look at a person, when we hear them speak? Is it in the tone of voice? Is it in a facial expression? I don't know if there's an answer to these questions, but here's one that we can answer. What do we do with it once we have recognized it? But as I see it, there are three parts to resilience for someone serving a sentence. They are approach, energy, and agency. I would say approach because usually we associate a positive attitude with resilience, but weirdly enough, in my experience, and it sounds like that of Cara as well, it was having a pessimistic and skeptical approach to what I had in front of me, what I had to overcome, is what enabled me to anticipate and prepare for the obstacles and barriers I inevitably faced, almost on a daily basis. Energy is what empowers us to keep us moving forward in the face of these barriers and obstacles without being ground down by them. And then the agency, I think that is the indefinable element which enables us to, in spite of our own odds, step into someone else's lane and help support and guide them through and over their barriers and obstacles. That's just my take on it. You know, I didn't look in any books. I didn't look at a dictionary. I just wanted to reach down inside myself and ask myself those questions. So these are the questions I put out here to you, and you know, these are the questions I try to answer on a daily basis myself. I want to put an image in your minds now as you listen to me drone on. It's the poppy flower. Why that, you ask? Why? Well, let's look at it for a minute. Let's look at the reason why the poppy is the emblem of remembrance. It's because it is a flower that can grow in any conditions. It grew in the trenches and on the battlefields. It grew in countries and grows in countries with inhospitable climates and terrains, but yet it flourishes in meadows and fields with some of the most beautiful and picturesque scenery. If we're thinking of poppies now as those in our prisons with resilience, then they will grow in the harsh and inhospitable terrains and climates, finding ways to penetrate the surface, you know, like the soil of the day-to-day quagmire that we have to overcome and live through. You know, those things that you know, every day we overcome one obstacle in our prison journey, and then we're faced with 2 more, and then 5 more the next day, and we have to just keep moving forward. See, what we want is to get to that picturesque scene of the meadows and fields where we're all collectively nurturing and feeding resilience in its abundance. Let me be clear by we. I mean, not just this network, but those governors like Andy Laidlaw, with say, and those above with sway over the climates in which the people in prison must weather and the terrains that they must negotiate. These are the people that, yeah, we need to be focused on. So really and truly, my speech is quite short, it's quite succinct, considering I only had 10 minutes. So this is like a call to arms. Populate the wings of the units with people who demonstrate resilience. And we need to find ways to pollinate our prisons so that the resilience looks like a field of poppies. We can keep moving that resilience forward, sharing it. So there are some of us that will take the lead where we see that need and use our resilience to keep ourselves moving forward, but also to help the others who are lagging kind of behind us. But we want to share that resilience, show others how to build that same resilience, so that those not so capable, those not so confident, those not so prison savvy, those not so able to cope with whatever it is in front of them, can start to build their own resilience. You know, I don't mind, if I could, I would bottle it and give my resilience, keep reproducing it and send it into the prison system, but I can't. So all I can do is work from the inside and from the outside with those on the inside, and we collectively, hopefully, can continue to input our resilience, make others share in it, thrive from it, and start to build their own resilience. Personally, I feel like it is a very appropriate mandate for the New Leaf network to focus on. And that is all I really want to say today. So thank you.